I want to quickly talk to you about business loans with no revenue, approving up to $1 million within 48 hours. Fantastic. So here's a review I want you to pay attention to. Number 7, we have Accion. Our score, 8.3 over 10. So when you think about Accion, I want you to first think about a non-profit lender. They're not going to approve you up to $1 million. They will approve you up to $150,000. But listen, it's still worth it. $150,000, fantastic. The minimum credit score here, where we're looking at 525 all the way to 570. So there is no revenue requirements. They're not asking you to have any kind of revenue. That's really fantastic. And the APR is kind of like 599 all the way to 1799. What we love about Accion is that basically it's a non-profit lender, so the APR tends to be a little lower. The only problem is it's not available in all 50 states. I'll talk about that later on. But again, here is a lender that is really great for you. If you're if you're an LLC, S corporation, C corporation, not a problem at all. So let's quickly go through the pros and cons of Accion. So you have loan amounts that oscillates from $5,000 all the way to $150,000. And you got to be in operation for at least 3 months to qualify. Okay, so they were really open to startups also, and they have customized loan terms. We love that a lot, and there is no prepayment penalty with Accion. So this is really fantastic. What about the cons here? Well, you do have a slower processing program. That is really when you compare it to online lenders, because it is a non-profit lender. They actually raise the funds to actually take care of you. And again, it's not available in all 50 states. So, but overall, we love the fact that Accion really caters to a specific segment of the population. So if you have not been able to find business financing through the traditional outlets, we're speaking about online lenders, we're speaking about alternative lenders, we're speaking about banks, we're speaking about credit unions, then you can resort to Accion. They'll take care of you. Again, you are not going to have up to $1 million, but you can have something from $5,000 all the way to $150,000 to survive operationally in the first 3 months, 9 months, or 12 months before you actually get back on your feet, and you can apply through a regular lender. Okay, so Accion, $150,000 maximum loan amount. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. We're having a quick convo about business loans with no revenue, approving up to $1 million. Number 6, we have OnDeck. Our score, 8.8 over 10. So when you think about OnDeck, I want you to first think about a line of credit. It's not a business loan, but they can actually transform this into a business loan for you. But the thing is that in today's conversation, we have two instances of OnDeck. We have the line of credit and we have the business loan. So now I want to talk to you about the business line of credit. Here, the maximum loan amount is $100,000, and they will actually basically they have no revenue requirements. They want to have a minimum credit score of 575 all the way to 625, and the APR is kind of high though. Anytime you think about OnDeck, I want you to think about a very high APR. You are looking at 39% all the way to 77%, so it is pretty high. Okay, but the cool thing is that if you have less than stellar credit, you can get the funding, you can get business funding through OnDeck, not a problem. Let's quickly go through the pros and cons of this business loan with no revenue from OnDeck. You have pros first. Cash can be available within the same business day. This is really good. And OnDeck will accept you if you have a minimum credit score of 575 all the way to 625. And with OnDeck, you have the possibility to actually be pre-approved. Okay, you have a streamlined application process with minimal documentation required. This is really good. And you can use an OnDeck business line of credit to actually build credit. So OnDeck business line of credit with no revenue requirements. This is really fantastic. What about the cons here? Well, right now, as of the date of this show, OnDeck loans are not available in Nevada, North Dakota, or South Dakota. So those 3 states, they haven't gotten a banking license yet, so they are still working on that. And OnDeck actually requires frequent, in other words, daily or weekly repayments. So this can be a little disruptive to your cash flows. But hey, listen, it is what it is. And OnDeck may require a business lane and a personal guarantee in some cases. Okay, and so minimum credit score 575 to 625, minimum time in business 1 year, minimum annual revenue $100,000, and OnDeck does not want to see any bankruptcies in your credit file for the last 2 years. And yeah, it is what it is, boss. I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a conversation about business loans with no revenue, approving up to $1 million. Number 5, we have Bluevine, our score. 9/10. So when you think about Bluevine, think about a credit product that is primarily a business line of credit, but they can actually transform it for you in a business loan. And Bluevine doesn't have revenue requirements. And I mean, basically, they have revenue requirements. But if you have a business relationship with them, if you have a business checking account with them, they can waive the revenue requirements. So the prerequisite to actually bypass the revenue requirements with Bluevine is to open a business checking account with them. Bluevine used to be just a lender, and recently they are starting to branch into business banking also. So this is really fine. As long as you're able to establish a relationship with them, that's fine. So they were doing all these things through a partnership with a bank called Coastal Community Bank. Okay, this is how they actually do the things. And so the maximum loan amount here, $250,000. The minimum credit score, it goes from 550 all the way to 625, and the APR goes from 20% all the way to 50%. So it is really great. So Bluevine's line of credit provides like fast working capital for short-term borrowing needs. And again, as I said, you can transform this business line of credit into a business loan if you have the right relationship with Bluevine. So let's talk about the pros and cons here. Pros. Cash can be available within 12 to 24 hours. So this is really fantastic. You have multiple term lengths for different financing needs, and you do have a low minimum credit score requirement. So this is really cool. Let's talk about the cons here. Bluevine may require you to actually repay them on a weekly basis. Again, it's one of those things. Anytime a lender wants you to repay them on a weekly basis, you are seeing a potential disruption to your cash flows. But as long as you can handle that, you are good to go. And minimum time in business, 24 months, and minimum annual revenue, $480,000. But you can waive all of this if you have a relationship with Bluevine. In other words, you have a business checking account, which we strongly encourage you to do. So like if you're really trying to build a relationship with Bluevine in the long run, you really want to actually have a business checking account with them, and you want to start directing liquidity into that account, so Bluevine can analyze your liquidity and say, okay, this is this lender, this business is really working with us. We're going to work with it too. Number 4, you have Fundbox, our score, 9.2/10. So when you think about Fundbox, I want you to think about a business loan with no revenue, approving up to $150,000. Minimum credit score here goes from 550 to 600. So this is kind of cool. And Fundbox actually is a little expensive when it comes to APR, but hey, listen, it is what it is. At least you get the cash that you need anyway. You can get up to $150,000, and APR can go from 10% all the way to 80%. Okay, but you can use a Fundbox loan for a lot of things. There are no revenue requirements, and you need though to actually have a bank account, and you to link your account to a Fundbox systems, or you have to link your accounting systems to Fundbox systems. So they want to see like your revenue. Okay, even though they don't have a revenue requirements, they still want to see your cash inflows and cash outflows. So they will, if they ask you to link your QuickBooks or Wave or Xero accounting software to their system, they pay attention to 3 things. They pay attention to your balance sheet, they pay attention to your cash flow statements, and they pay attention to your income statements. And they just want to see the movements. They're not really they're not saying, well, you got to have 10,000 to qualify. You got to have 20,000 per month to qualify. No. This is open bar, but we want to track things to see what's really happening in your operations. That's how they do things. Let's quickly go through the pros and cons of Fundbox. So pros: financing is available within 1 business day after approval. You have a simple application with minimal documentation required, and this lender is startup friendly, so they do accept borrowers with a minimum of 6 months in business. And you have a low minimum credit score requirements, and you have no prepayment penalties, account maintenance fees, or inactivity fees. So this is just fantastic. What about the cons here? Well, rates are kind of high. I told you, 10% to 80% compared to traditional banks. And there are cases where Fundbox is actually requiring a personal guarantee, and you can't use this loan to actually build business credit. And you have weekly repayment required over a short term, so maximum of 24 weeks. So as long as you can handle that, you are good to go. If you can handle this sort of conditions, you are good to go. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about business loans with no revenue, approving up to $1 million real fast. Let's talk about number 3, On Deck, our score. 9.5 over 10. As I told you before, we had 2 instances of On Deck in this show. The first one we had it as a business line of credit. Now we have it as a business loan. So basically, the On Deck online business term loan has a higher approval. So it approves you all the way to $250,000. The business line of credit will approve you to $150,000, and this loan goes all the way to $250,000. So this is really fine. And credit score goes from 575 all the way to 625, and the APR goes from 34%, 35% to 90%. So this is kind of cool. Now, cool. It's expensive, but at least you get the cash real fast. Let's look at the positive side of things here. And so, if you happen to listen to me right now, you are a bad credit borrower. In other words, you have less than stellar credit, then you might want to think about On Deck, big time, because they do have a constellation of options for you. So, and the good thing is you have fast funding, with On Deck, whether you are trying to get a business loan or a business line of credit, they tend to fund you real fast. They'll look at your application. But and one thing I want to say also is that we love the fact that you can be pre-approved. So everything starts online. Obviously, On Deck is an online lender. It is a fintech. They don't have like brick and mortar branches. You're going to have to do everything online. You can be pre-approved. But the thing is, everything is fast though. Everything is real fast, and you have a streamlined application process. Minimal documentation required, and you can use this On Deck loan to actually build business credit. So this is really cool. And the only restrictions are that if you live in those 3 states that I mentioned, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Nevada, you're not going to qualify for them. And you have to be really, really thorough also in terms of your budget, because On Deck wants you to repay them on a weekly basis. In some cases, they might ask you to repay them on a daily basis. So you got to be really you don't want to start having overdrafts, because if you have this sort of a very frequent repayment sort of process, you have to maintain really your cash balance really, really thoroughly. So. Number 2, you have Triton Capital. Our score, 9.7 over 10. One thing I want to share with you when we talk about Triton Capital is that it is a very generous business loan with no revenue. And Triton will approve you all the way to $250,000. Not bad, right? Not really bad. We really love that a lot. And the thing I want to say also is that with Triton Capital, you can actually, with Triton Capital, they actually started financing business equipment. Now they have branched out to everything. So if you're looking for a business loan for your equipment, you stand a chance to score a higher loan amount. But again, as I said, they approve all kinds of business loan options, not a problem. So minimum credit score here, 550 all the way to 600. And the APR goes from 6% all the way to 35%, 36%. So that's the delta I want you to really think about. And so Triton Capital actually offers fast loans, equipment loans, regular loans in a constellation of industries. Okay. And so the only thing is they want you to be in business for at least 2 years, and they can waive that to 1 year. If they can really bring it down to 1 year if you meet other conditions, and they want you to have like a annual revenue of $250,000. Now, the way to waive that annual revenue requirements is to have a business plan. You got to have a business plan, and you have to present the business plan to them, and that's it. But I'm talking about a business plan with projections, though, with financial projections. You don't have to talk about the actual numbers, but you got to really talk about projected numbers, so estimated numbers or forecasted numbers. So let's quickly go through the pros and cons of Triton Capital here. So Triton Capital, in terms of pros, they can fund you within 1 to 2 business days. Again, remember, the maximum loan amount, $250,000. There is no prepayment penalty. You have flexible repayment options. So this is really cool. So we're talking about what? Monthly, quarterly, annually, or semi-annually. At least, thank God, they're not really taking money out of your account every day or every week. So The first, like the first one is monthly, so this is really fine. But overall, fantastic. It is fantastic. What about the cons here? Well, Triton may require a personal guarantee and UCC lien in some cases. Okay, and they might also ask for a minimum annual revenue, a high minimum annual revenue in some cases. Number one, the best of the best in our view when it comes to business loans with no revenue, approving up to $1 million. You're looking at Fora Financial. Our score 9.8 over 10. So Fora Financial actually will give you a business loan with no revenue, all the way to $1.5 million. Minimum credit score 500. But based on our experience in the last few years, they've been approving folks, like the maximum we have heard is $1 million. But hey, listen, it is still something, So we'll take that every single day. That's fine anyway. For us, this is really fantastic. So when you think about Fora Financial, I want you to think about a nimble, like a very agile lender. They will look at your file, they'll look at your application process, they will look at your industry, your economic sector, and they will give you a loan that really fits your operations. That's just fantastic. What we love about Fora Financial is that the thing is, they start, like the whole conversation starts by them assigning I would say a business loan officer to your account, and that's the officer that you're gonna have to talk to. Okay, and every conversation, every email, every phone call, it's just better to direct those inquiries or those the conversation to your contact. So let's talk about the pros and cons here. Pros: the cash can be available quickly. This is really good. You are able to get a discount for prepaying, so that's fine. And you have no collateral required. We're speaking about an unsecured loan here. And so you have low minimum credit score requirements and no revenue requirements. So those are really important to mention. What about the cons here? Fora Financial charges an APR that can make it difficult to compare with other lenders, especially when they charge like a factor rate. So this is a little, it's a little confusing. I mean, it's not confusing to us, but it could be confusing to like other borrowers. And you can't build business credit with Fora in some cases. And the longest loan term is 15 months. So if you're looking for a longer loan term beyond 15 months, you're not going to get it through Fora. Okay. And the Fora wants you to be in business for at least 6 months. So that's like the minimum they want you to be in business with, And you got to have at least $15,000 per month in revenue. If you want to waive that requirements, make sure you have a business plan. So again, when we talk about business plan, we're speaking about a comprehensive business plan that is replete with financials. And those financials don't have to be actual financials. They can be projected financials or estimated financials. That's it. So if you have those, you are good to go. Not a problem. Let's quickly do a recap here. So not a recap, an approach first. I want to share with you our method when it comes to evaluating, categorizing, and listing business loans with no revenue. Check this out. Let's quickly recap here. Number one, we have Fora Financial, 9.8 over 10. Number two, you have Triton Capital, 9.7 over 10. Number three, you have OnDeck, 9.5 over 10. Number four, you have Fundbox, 9.2 over 10. Number five, you have Bluevine, 9 over 10. Number six, you have OnDeck, 8.8 over 10. Number seven, you have Axion, 8.3 over 10. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.